Alrighty, well I just was trying to play with that back foot on the bed and yeah, slammed my fingers in the bloody tailgate, didn't I? Fantastic. I tell you what, and the back foot is hanging on, and I was going to mess with it and this and that, and I was messing with the hinge, shaking it back and forward, and it is such a sloppy bloody hinge. My gosh, it's time for redesign. So I've slept in this 2 nights now, but it's going to have a redesign. You know, I have a few other bits and bobs to do. I just put the I don't know if you can see, but there's a you can't really see it. Anyway, that's the tyre with the valve stem seal. So I've just changed the back tyre there and then proceeded to slam my fingers in the door, tailgate rather. But yeah, in due course I'm going to change that back foot to sort of be a lot like the other ones in the front, and I've got a few ideas involving that already. Probably 2 bits of 3/4 inch ply instead of an actual bit of 4x2, because I reckon that'll fit in with the water tank pretty well. It may be held in with actual bits of wire, heavy wire they call bull wire, but we have had real battery issues with this thing, and yeah, I jump started it yesterday. I should have reversed it back, so you know, not so, you know, that's the bonnet's almost out in the wind there. But run it for about 10 minutes, and yeah, later on I went and put the charger on, and it's bubbling like hell. And you know, I had 2 interior lights on for 30 seconds, locked and unlocked it 3 times in 3 days, and it was too flat to start. So the only reason it's been staying up is because I've been driving it almost every day, and then I don't drive it for 3 days, even though I don't really use the interior lights, and it's, you know, and I put the charger on last night, and my gosh, oh, you could hear it bubbling. And so I decided to put some gloves on and open one of the caps, and you could see it bubbling, and it is absolutely knackered. So I've got to jump start this again tomorrow. Hopefully it's not too windy as I'm trying to do that. There's expected to be quite a bit of rain, and take it up to another town to get another battery put in it. That trim is getting a little bit shonky as well, that one there and there. It's sort of lifting up on either end. I'm going to silicone that in a while, but I'll have a break for now, and we will talk about a few things of this van build and all the little adventures and experiences from a first-time van build, and what you can expect, and other bits and bobs of the steep learning curve. You know, you heard of the bell curve? Yeah, that was my learning curve, just freaking straight up. My gosh, the shit you learn. You know, I've done heaps of house renovations. I've spent probably 7 years on and off, you know, like, and I might only be 3 to 6 months of those 7 years doing house renovations and, you know, building pergolas, and then I sort of spent a year renovating the cottage I am in, and yeah, never mind carpentry, it's really an operation in cabinet making, but then never mind anything to do with houses, because see, when you've got a house, like this house that I'm standing in now, you know, there's something very interesting. The floor is flat, the wall is vertical, and if your fingers don't hurt too much and you can pick it up, oh yeah, 2 hands, you can get a square, and although this is a bit of a ridiculous oversized version of events, you know, you can hold a square up to, you know, things like walls, and it'll all be pretty good, you know, like, you know, that's a straight and vertical corner. you know? And if something's not out an inch, well, it doesn't matter, because we've got another bloody 6 foot, 7 foot. It doesn't matter. With a van, nothing seems to be straight. Everything is curved, and where you need it to be vertical or horizontal, guess what? It'll be on a 15-degree angle, it'll be on a 30-degree angle, or some other such thing. My gosh! I think you just about need a CAD program to design how you're going to fit out the back of a van. Because you find when you go to put the curtains on that, well, as you get near the roof, it curves around. And you're trying to hang curtains on a hook that is on a 30-degree angle, about to turn into a 45, and then a 90 and go flat towards the ceiling. Oh, but it won't actually be flat, because when you get to the ceiling itself is on a slight dome shape to give the ceiling a bit of strength, you know, as part of the way it's all built. You know, it's like the whole egg shape. You know, you get these curves in the right spaces and the right places, and it gives you more strength than just a flat thing which will wobble in and out, you know, versus having a curved thing. This is why not many vehicles have very flat panels, except for a couple of French ones from the 1940s, but never mind that. I have driven past a C2V, you know, the little French Citroën, the 2 horsepower crapolas, to see a perfectly flat wheel guard for the back wheel guard wobbling like hell, and that's where you get metal fatigue and things crack. But this is, you know, it's what they do to give it structural strength, but then it stuffs you up, because nothing is square and nothing is straight. So it makes things very complicated. Now, it doesn't end there. My skills are increasing, and granted my skills are a lot better than other people's, to do things by eye, just to look at something and say that's about like that, draw it onto a bit of Reflectix, onto a bit of plywood, onto a bit of MDF, and cut it and put it up, and it's almost in place. That is really quite an art. There's a lot of people who just don't have that ability. I'm one of these characters that can pick up a pen and draw an almost perfect circle or an almost straight line, perfect straight line. You know, not 100%, but very close. That's considered a real ability to be able to do that. One day I might show it on camera, but honestly, who gives a shit? Who's going to even view it? So yeah, but you go in thinking, well, this is just going to be boop, 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 and I'm going to spend most of my time building. And you spend 80 to 90% of your time planning. And one of the biggest things you have to do is place things in a van, then put them in, then, you know, check it. Well, when I close the tailgate, is it going to hit the sink? Is this going to happen? Is that going to be in the way? When I fold this part up, when my bed folds down, is it going to knock this cupboard, or is it going to hit this tub that I'm storage box, or what, you know? And everything has to be moved every which way to make sure nothing is going to hit nothing. The amount of times you think you've got it right and then realise something is in the way of something, something is not tall enough to fit your fridge under, not tall enough for your water tank, needs this, needs that, isn't level, one won't line up with the other, blah, 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 blah. Holy smoke, you know. And you look at things like you know, this kitchen here. Look, well, 90 degrees, perfectly horizontal, perfectly vertical. In fact, the hinges in the back of these are adjustable, as a lot of these hinges are. I'll see if I can show you. So you get all these little hinges here, and you can wind all these in and out. That's your fixed point ones, but these ones are your adjustment ones. And you can move it every damn which way. And then it folds in, and as it folds, look, it's perfectly flat, you know. That's because we're dealing with something that we built from scratch, a house that is square, that is measured, that is, you know, and you build it from scratch. See, the trouble with the van is, it's like renovating an old house. As I found, the amount of time it took me to renovate my house as a fix-up, having to work around existing stuff, having to say, well, this thing isn't quite square, that thing's on a 3-degree lean, which by the time you get to the ceiling has moved a certain amount of inches, blah, 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 blah. It's, you're sitting there with straight plywood boards that are all square, or plasterboard, drywall, you know, and you're trying, and well, that wall's on a lean of about 3/4 of an inch or an inch by the time it gets to the ceiling, and all that stuff. Whoa. Honestly, the amount of time it took to renovate and work around all the walls that weren't 100% perfect, oh, you should have straightened it, just not really an option. Just, you know, they spent 120 years leaning the wrong way, and you're going to just, whoop, just yank them up in a minute. What's going to happen? It's going to break everything, isn't it? It's going to snap all the nails off. The brittle old 1800s, who knows when nails, you know. It's, and the amount of time it took for me to renovate that place, and there was a fair extensive amount of rebuilding in it, including wall framing quite a bit and stuff like that, and external cladding and stuff like that. I could have built from scratch 3 of those buildings versus renovate an existing thing, because you've got to work with what you've got, and that's what makes it hard. And guess what? With vans, you've got to work with what you've got. Then you've got to get everything to fit. Then nothing is square or flat, everything is on a strange curve. Oh man, like I said, it's 80 to 90% planning. At least for someone who's done, you know, kitchen renovations and all that stuff, it's 90% planning, because it doesn't take me long to put stuff together at all, except that I'll then go and sit it in place and realise, shit, this bit's going to hit that. How far can we go here? We need to leave enough room for this thing. And you think you've got to, and there's like 4 or 5 things you've got to keep together. And you think you've got it right. And then you forget that one thing, like having enough room for this bit that is only like that when you swing the bed out to sleep at night or whatever, you know, and it just, oh man, it's really, and it wouldn't be such an effort if you didn't have to build it so compact. Like if you had 7 feet to spare, you wouldn't give a shit. You just, you know, just go across another 3 inches. Who cares? 3 inches is a big deal inside the back of a van. It really is a big deal. And, you know, everything is rammed in super bloody tight. And it's one thing to have a CAD program, because if you've got a CAD program and it allows you to have parts that move, like hinges and pivot points and stuff like that, you can get everything to line up, drawn on your CAD program, and then you build it exactly how it is on the CAD program. No CAD program, you've got to do it all, and you've got to test it all, and you've got to check that everything's in the right place, and, you know, and make everything get out of the way of everything, while trying to ram it in, because 2 inches does bloody matter. So it's quite an effort, and, you know, it's just a lot of stuff that you get to the end of it and you say, finally, like that stupid bloody foot, oh, finally it works good enough, and then you realise, no, it's actually flopping around too badly, or it's, I could have done this design far better, I should have done blah, 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 you know, and it would have worked nice, you know. You get things that just, I like that time of that blasted thing for the foot that, you know, 1/8 of an inch bent in too much and the whole bloody thing wouldn't slide properly, and I couldn't work it out. And, you know, there's just, it's so compact, and it's not like when you're working under an engine bay where it's compact, but we can fit this box in between this and this, and that's all there is to it. No, because you've got bits that move, like the legs that come out of the way and that side that flops down. You've got, I want to put a storage tub in this area, but I still need to get access to the arm which puts the feet down. You know, and you've got all this stuff where I want to do this, but I still need to get access to my storage tub. Or I still need to be able to pull my leg out of the way to do, you know, and to sit my mattress down, sort of thing, to keep it out of the way of anything coming off the stove, any spatter off the stove, you know. Not that there's going to be too much. I think anything spattering on the stove will be cooked outside. You know, and you've got all this stuff, and this is my first time, and you're doing all this stuff, and you do it all, and you say, I could have actually done that better. And you're sitting there going, my God, it took me 3-4 days to get this bastard right, you know, and like I fidgeted around. I was doing one other thing while thinking about that for a day and trying to place everything, and thought I had it right, then had to change, and thought I still had it right, had to change it. So next thing you know, something that should be, oh, we'll just click, 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 we'll whack it together, we'll work it out and put it together and be done in an hour and a half. It strings out of 3 days or more, you know? And you're like, bloody hell, and then you get there, and you're like, you know what, I could have done it this design. And it's like, oh man, you know, I've already wasted 3 or 4 days, but I can't back now. It's just going to stay like that. Unless it's a problem, a real problem like this bloody leg's becoming, you know. And then you've got to go, well, I've still got to work around the water tank and everything else, but then as I pull the rods out, you know, to pull that leg out the way, it can't hit the sink behind it, you know, while not hitting the water tank. It's like, ooh, yeah, and this is a not so complicated build, you know. But it's trying to make every inch count, because we don't have much inches there. And I've found is one of the most intriguing things that, you know, that I didn't see coming was, I laid on that bed, and you'll see me on my back laying on that bed, showing that I can move my feet, and it's all good. And it's all fine, with no pillow. And I put a full-size pillow in there, and guess what? My damn head's just about too close to the roof. So then I go, well, maybe no pillow at all, and you lay there for 5 minutes and you go, oh, I'm going to wake up with a sore neck. So then you've got to run out and find a cushion, but not one that's too big, one that's thin enough that it still acts as a pillow, but then your head's not touching the roof. But then remember, I could lay there and I had heaps of room for my feet? That was also with no pillow. So even with a little cushion, a little seat cushion, yeah, you can put your head down, but guess what? The length of the seat cushion is longer than from your shoulder to your top of your head. So instantly, oh shit, I'm missing another 2 inches or 3 inches, and guess what? I just lose my feet wiggle room. So my feet can be there, but I can't fully stretch my legs and point my toes out like that. I've got to keep my feet 90 degrees the whole damn night. Great. All over a pillow! All over a pillow! That then turned into a cushion that was then 2 or 3 inches taller than the top of my head when I laid on it. But you can't go anymore because you can hear your hair about to touch the reflectix. Ooh! The trials and tribulations of 2 or 3 inches. And you know, you could write a book on building vans, and that could be the title, The Trials and Tribulations of that 2 inches. You know. Oh my gosh. You know, and I'm 6'2", and I'm trying to fit in a minivan. You know, and it's all right. It's all right if you're 5'2", but I'm 6'2". You know. Yeah. You sort of. Having said that, I'm going to have to move the toilet when I get in and out of bed, but that's no matter. It's just a little ocky strap that goes around in one. Who cares? No big deal. You know, then I'm going to have to slide it up near the back of the back seat. I have, only in playing around, showing you stuff on video and getting in and out of bed several times in 2 nights, I've fully worked out the technique of getting in and out of bed. And it is almost a dive into bed. But, you know, and I can come down and my feet can touch the ground without kicking it, and I know exactly where my feet are going to come down. And it's something that, you know, I'm going to be used to it. I'm already used to it, I think, getting in and out of bed. I thought it would be a real struggle. I thought I'd be always tripping over stuff. And as long as there's a particular little area of the floor, as long as I'm face down, getting in bed and out of bed, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So that's not too bad. I must say, it's cozy. It's tight, but like I was saying to my sister the other day, does it really matter how close to the roof you are? Oh, I'm going to get claustrophobic. Hey, you're supposed to be closing your damn eyes and going to sleep. What's claustrophobic? You know? But this is the thing also, when you got all the reflectics on and you close the door, when they're all on and you've got that wall there as well that closes off the cabin, it's actually really dark. Even in the day, it's like, you know, quite dark. And it's not super dark in the day, but you've just got little gaps of light coming through. But when the sun goes down, oh, it's absolutely stinking pitch black. I've actually had a light on inside, well, sort of over there, and you can still see the light through these windows here, but you turn off the carport light and you hop in the back of that van and it is pitch black. I mean, absolutely solid black. And, like, you know, you got to just sort of, yeah. I might make a little cover over the sink because I realise that a good place to put my handkerchief and possibly even my phone is right where the sink is. It's just sort of like a natural, like your right arm just sort of goes out and you're more or less on the sink there. So I think that, yeah, I might make a little cover for that. I've still got to put the bin in, which is just going to be held in with a carabiner. It's actually got a ring built into the back of the bin, like a little tab that's, well, it's a piece of wire, but it's actually part of the bin. So I've worked out I can put a carabiner around that and the carabiner onto an eyelet mounted on the bed. And I've already worked out where I'm going to put the bin, but I've just got to put it in. Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, and I am so damn happy that I put the bed up high like that. And you might say, why? Well, first of all, you don't get condensation directly above you like you thought you were going to, because it's got a roof lining, and then all these plastic trims where the tailgate closes, because my head's like really quite close to the back of the tailgate. And you really think it would, but what you'll notice is, if your reflectix isn't spot on in, where your head is, sort of behind that, where the, you know, the tailgate behind your head, it might get a bit of moisture there, sort of thing. And the other thing is along the little door trims there, just that little, anything with metal, like people say, anything with bare metal, that's going to get it. Now, I've tried two different options. I've tried being in there with electric heat, and I've tried also candles. Now these rotten sods, oh, you know, when you get everything in China, how they lie to you. This is some old thing. It's supposed to be, I think it's an attachment for a camping stove, so you got like a little, you know, like a little thing to fry your steak on. But as you can tell, like the aluminium is corroding bad. That's what happens after you wash it and then sit it outside for 2 days. And the aluminium corrosion goes nuts. Now back to these lying Chinese widgets. 8 to 9 hours. That's what it bloody said on the packet. Some of you might remember even seeing the packet. You know, I decided I'm going to look at my phone and remember the time when I light these up. 4.5 to 5 hours. You never actually make it to 5. You might make it 4 hours and 50 minutes. 4.5 and almost 5 hours. That's the average time of these so-called 8 to 9 hours. Remember how I told you the Chinese lie? By hell, they lie. Anyway, I then decided to use a tiny little blow heater. And it's not one of these continuous flow ones. It's one of these ones that kicks in and out with a thermostat. The only trouble is, it's a bit of a long distance between the kick in and the kick out. Now, granted, it probably works fine in a house, but you're laying in there, and it's starting to get cool, and you're like, oh man, this is getting cool. Is this thing going to fire up in a minute? The next thing, you're thinking, maybe I better go and adjust the knob. You're going, shit, I've got to just about dance around like an idiot to even get out to get down to where the knob is, because it's sitting on the ground with the vent facing upwards so it doesn't heat the floor too much, the lino on the floor. So I've bent this, I got this vent up on an angle. I'm laying there, going, geez, I might have to get out and adjust this. It's starting to get cold on my arms here. 2 minutes later, fires up. Oh, good. So it's running away for about, it's a while, about 7 minutes or something. And then it's getting there, it's like, whew, I'm getting hot. I hope this thing turns itself off in a minute. So then you start pulling all the flaming sheets off yourself because you're really starting to get too warm. Granted, I'm up the top, very close to the roof, and I mean, it's actually quite close to the, I've got the reflectives up still, but really speaking, like, it's sitting up above, you can see the mattress sitting above the window line, and, so heat rises, but because I'm so close to the roof, I'm getting all the heat. So you go, man, this is getting stupid hot. I'm going to start sweating in a minute. So you've gone and pulled all the sheets off yourself, and it's still going for 2 minutes. It's like, I'm going to have to turn this thing off in a minute. This is just getting too hot. And then, off it goes. And so you're like, oh, that's good. And then, of course, time goes on. And then she gets too cold again. And you're either wake up as it's cooling down, or you're going, man, I've got to start pulling these blankets over. When's this thing going to start again? I don't know if it's something to do with the thermal mass in a house or the insulation in a house or just the manufacturers that just put a very big differentiation between the shutdown and the startup of the thermostat, but it could be better. But that's just that electric heater. I reckon if you use something else like a mini oil heater or a different sort of one of those continuous fan heaters, not one that kicks in and out with a thermostat, but one that's just like a constant heat and you've got like a up-down level but it just runs constant. I reckon if you had one of those it'd be good, So yeah, but I'll tell you what, whoo, that mattress is brilliant. Another strange thing I realised that I've only realised even now with it in the carport because we've had really quite heavy winds the last day or so, and I experienced it last night, and that is wind rocking the van as you're trying to sleep. And so you're not down low, down near the floor, and you're not perfectly in the middle. You're high up and you're to one side, so the wind starts rocking the van, and it's just and you sort of, you feel yourself like this a little bit as you're in the van and you're like, oh, this is in a carport. Now how would I be if this was out next to some open flat lake or something, I was out near some lake, and there's a camp, there's quite a few campsites at lakes and stuff. There's one that I've been someone suggested I should go up to, and I might. But it had to be with something like that with heavy winds. You'd be sitting there and, I was sitting there with it parked in my driveway the other day, sitting in the driver's seat, and the bloody thing was wobbling around, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and I could feel the thing shaking in the wind. Granted, it was heavy winds. We weren't really behind any real cover, and that was, but this is even, as you're laying down trying to sleep and you're in a carport and the wind's whipping around the side, you're sort of bobbing away in the back. I was like, this is different, this is a little bit like sleeping on a boat or something, it's not what I'm used to with my bed, but if you've slept on a boat, you'd probably be used to it. It'd probably be quite normal, but it's just a little adjustment that you're gonna, how many times have you been in your bed in the house and next thing your bed starts swaying back and forth? But anyway, I've got to, with the candle heat, I ended up with a great heap of, and you probably saw it, the video with all the condensation on the windscreen. With the actual electric heat, the little, blow fan, you know what I mean, a little fan heater thing, space heater. It's only quite a small one actually. With that, there was nothing. I just had a little dot on the back tailgate and everything else was good. And I did have the window down a little bit, And I've sort of cut a little bit of the Reflectix so you got a little tab that can sort of open up. And with all of that, it was actually really good. I think I didn't get out and check it straight away. I got out and I come straight in here to make breakfast. But yeah, I think that's a great a great option. And I think if you were in powered sites aren't terribly expensive here, and if you're in an area where it was like cold, like where you were hitting freezing temperatures and all that, having a little space heater like that inside this, it'd be brilliant. Like, it'd be absolutely fantastic, because it wouldn't matter if, there was bloody snow on the ground, you would still be warm. And it's a great option for, if it's a little bit cool at night and it's not a big deal, you'll be fine. But if you go into an area where it's, you're hitting freezing temperatures, hey, it's going to be a darn sight cheaper than a motel to pull that into a trailer park and just get a powered site. And, that's something that I'll consider in future if I ever do take it, on trips where I know it's going to be bitterly cold. Now, the other one I'm going to do in future, when I'm back at work and I'm making money, and I know people say, oh, they're not the best and they're not the most efficient, but hey, it's not my power bill. It's not really my problem, and that is air conditioning. I have suffered like a little bitch not having air conditioning while living off-grid. And I mean, it's 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and at night it doesn't drop below 105, and it just, you're dying in this heat. And it's one thing for it to be 100 degrees during the day. Now, if it is above 100 degrees all night long, trust me, it's not the life you want to have. With just, bugger all ability to cool yourself or anything like that. It's horrendous, it really freaking, it's not really tolerable. And I've suffered through that bullshit for 8 years now, and the next summer I won't be, because there will be a very small portable air conditioner, not some bloody swamp cooler bullshit, alright? Never mind that crap. There'll be a proper refrigerated compressor air conditioning system going in this van, and I will be at the powered side at the trailer park. And I have worked out exactly what trailer park it's going to be. It's one that I have been to before that is a very good price, and it is not terribly far from where I have worked and are likely to work again. And so because it's not that far away, it's definitely a few miles, but I'll have that one parked, and I'll get the G6, the big silver car, and drive that back and forwards to and from work. With that parked there, with the air conditioning going, not during the day, I might just have a ventilation fan during the day in there, but at night, or when I get off work, straight in there, air conditioning on, and we're going to live in air-conditioned luxury through 115 degree Fahrenheit heat, because I'm sick to death of having to try and survive this shit and go to work, and you're trying to work and you can barely bloody stand up and keep your shit together, let alone actually get much work done, and it's crap, and I'll go to work, but by hell, I'm not sleeping in this shit, because you can't sleep, And anyway, that's something that we've got to suffer through usually at least 2 weeks of the year, and I might decide I'm going to be in the van 2 weeks, or maybe bloody 3.5, 4 weeks. Just fork out the cash, and just do it. I don't need to piss around with generators and this and that and blah, 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 blah. I just need to pay my little powered site fee, and now I have an option. I've got an option. It's one problem I've had for years that is really hard for a few weeks that is now going to be taken care of. And I think even if I know not many of you are off-grid, but if you don't have the solar capacity to run air conditioning off-grid, or your means are not terribly great, or whatnot, you know, it's an idea. It's a good idea, I think. Not saying that everyone can go and buy themselves a van and an air conditioner, but it's an option. It's an option that's out there, and by hell, I'm taking it. And oh yeah, I'm going to be pleased with when all that eventuates, and it will eventuate. But anyway, it's one of these things, van build designing. It's just, man oh man, you're going to face 90% thought process, a lot of trouble trying to get everything to work together and to fit together. 2 or 3 inches does make a difference, and you've got to work around the van that you've already got, which isn't necessary, and not necessarily, it almost guaranteed will have curves in it and things that don't, you know, and you may have flat floors and stuff like that, but yeah, you've got to work with what you've got, and then you get to the end of it and you finally succeeded and you said, oh, I could have probably done it a different design, and then you're like, yeah, maybe next year, or 2 or 3, or we'll do this when we buy another van in the future that's actually bigger than this one. I think I'll stick with this van because I think it is all about learning to live in a tight space, and I've heard that phrase said a number of times. And that freezer's going to be big, but it's going to be good, having a good freezer in that thing. And I'm going to have to put my jack elsewhere because I had to get the whole bench fridge assembly out the way, bench sink assembly out the way to get to my jack. And yeah. But anyway, I'm flaming pleased with it. I am very pleased with it, particularly the quality of the mattress. Like, whoa, that mattress is brilliant. I'm sleeping like I don't usually sleep, just purely because the mattress is so good, being an inner spring, being brand new, and just the way they've made that mattress is like, you can sleep on that 3 times better than I can sleep in my home bed. And I'm not joking. I can actually sleep in the van far better than I can sleep in the home bed because of the quality of the mattress. That alone. So yeah. I'm not saying I'm going to be sleeping in the van at my own house every damn time, but I may start doing a few things with it, like going and sleeping in a trailer park, and I have a particular person who's, they've got an alleyway and they've got garages in the alleyway, and their garage is set in a bit and you can actually fit a car in front of it. So I might be sleeping behind their garage just to get a bit of a feel for urban camping for a night or so, and maybe I'll be going up to some of these government camping spots like the one on the lake that was recommended. I've got to start spending a bit of time sleeping in this and getting used to a little bit of a routine so that when I do go back to work, you know, by the time I get the deep cycle battery and the solar, and that very shortly after, we're going to make a go of being, you know, in the van a lot more. And you know, make use of this thing, and because I didn't buy it for nothing. Anyway, that's me waffle on that.